Hi, I'm Mike Farrell. Welcome to World Travel's new online series, bringing you updates on airlines, hotels, car rentals, all things travel as we emerge from COVID-19. Let's go. Welcome back to another episode of Let's Go. Today, we're going to explore virtual and hybrid meetings. World Travel experienced this throughout the year with our Fall and Spring Symposium. Our Fall Symposium had over 600 attendees watching for a few hours all of the updates in the travel industry brought to you from World Travel. These events don't just happen automatically. There is a ton of planning, there is a ton of preparation behind the scenes. So today, we're going to talk to our Director of Marketing, Phylicia Sierer, and our Meeting and Events Specialist, Kristin Lynch. Thank you very much for joining us in the studios today. You're usually on the other side of the camera, and we've brought you to this side of the camera for this interview.
Yeah, so that's a little weird, but we're happy to be here.
Phylicia, I'll ask you the first question, and that is specific to the Fall Symposium. What changes did we have to make? What did we learn from the Spring Symposium that made the Fall Symposium even better?
Yeah, so spring was a quick pivot for us. You know, it was March and we got locked down and it was 2 weeks to flatten the curve. So we were kind of in a holding pattern, but those 2 weeks quickly turned into a month. And we realized that an in-person event just wasn't gonna happen. So we pivoted pretty quickly in the spring to our virtual platform. And then in the fall, we had much more notice. So we placed a much higher emphasis on production. So for the fall, we worked with our production company, Ripborn Productions, to really enhance the attendee experience and to make it an even bigger production, if you will.
I agree with you, Phylicia. The production company who you don't see behind the camera, Rip Roaring Production, led by very talented president, Rip Sailing, has been a phenomenal asset for our organization to be working with them. Not only are they producing these Let's Go episodes that have been very, very successful, but they've also helped us produce our spring and our fall symposium and much of the video content that you get to enjoy on the other side of the screen. As many of our viewers know, our symposium that we've been doing for over 10 years has been a live event, and we've had it in cities like New York, Baltimore, Washington, D.C., and Philadelphia. Over 400 people in a very exciting and enthusiastic ballroom. With our Fall Symposium, when we had to go virtual, Phylicia and Kristin had to make a lot of changes along the way. So can you tell us about some of those changes that you've made to enhance that virtual experience?
Yeah, so we're lucky at World Travel. We have a really talented meetings and events team at our disposal. So our first step was really to reach out to them, to get their insider knowledge and understand what virtual events in 2020 look like. They obviously have the knowledge, so we wanted to use it. And I definitely encourage everyone, if you have that at your disposal, ask people, talk to them about the trends and things that you need to consider when you are planning a virtual event. And if you don't, consider looking out and looking at some other resources. Another key part is really looking at the calendar. Pick a date and stick with it. It's so easy to just, say, oh, we'll have something else coming up and keep pushing it off and pushing it off. But your attendees expect the event to happen, and it should. Another key part in planning it is picking your platform. There's so many different options out there. You have Teams, you have Zoom, you have GoToWebinar. Really decide what you have at your disposal. Your company might have subscriptions and licenses to things that you can use. So really figure out which one's going to work best for your event. For us, we learned a little bit of a hard way in the spring. We used our GoToWebinar license and found out that we could only have 500 attendees, and we were inching up throughout the event, and we're really getting a little concerned. So for the fall, we learned that lesson, upped our licenses so we could ensure that we didn't have to worry about that toward the end. And then the biggest part of planning your event is the content. Typically, we would have had our content planned far in advance, but things are changing so quickly. So we had weekly discussions about our agenda and figuring out what our attendees needed to know about, for our fall symposium. So really figure out the content, give your attendees what they need, but keep it concise. Nobody wants to sit on an 8-hour webinar.
Kristin, I'm going to pose this next question to you. Content and platform are extremely, extremely important to the success of any program, but the program doesn't mean anything without attendees. Can you talk about the marketing efforts that we put in place in order to get people to register?
Sure. I think there's really 2 areas that you want to focus on. The first is that you want to make sure that you're using all of your channels. So traditional social media like Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, wherever you find that you have the most success reaching your audience, that's where you really want to focus on blasting information about your event. Email marketing is another great way. And if your company has any kind of a newsletter, you might want to put some kind of a flashy image at the top, something that's going to catch their eyes and make them aware of the event. And then don't forget to lean on some of your fellow employees. For our fall symposium, our sales and account management teams were crucial to helping us achieve the attendance that we had. And then I think the second piece of it is really about consistency. So all of us are inundated with emails all day, every day. So you can't really expect to send one email and get 600 people to register. So you probably want to start marketing your event about maybe a month or so before it's scheduled. And then over the course of that month, consistently push out reminders, tease some new information. So that way if somebody does miss the first email or even the first few, you're giving them plenty of opportunities to become aware of the event and then hopefully ultimately register.
As Kristin mentioned, it is really, really important to drive the attendance, get people to register. We also encourage you to have your sales team get on the phone, to make those phone calls the day before or 2 days before the event, to make sure that your customers are aware that we're looking forward to them joining the event. When there's that personal touch or reach out on a one-on-one basis from your sales team or your inside sales team, it adds a lot of validity to the excitement that you have as an organization having your customers join the event. All right, so we're going down the steps here. We've got them to register through our marketing efforts. We're getting them to attend by our reach out the day of or the day before. Now it's the event. Now the event is happening. We have to keep them engaged for 2 hours. Kristin, how do we do it?
Honestly, I would say just treat it like any other normal event. So for World Travel, our events are always fun. We play games, we give away prizes. Just one example of how we translated that into a virtual environment. For Fall Symposium, we had our attendees play the virtual bingo game. So everyone received a digital bingo card that they were able to mark off over the course of the event. And the first 2 people with bingo won Vera Bradley gift bags. So I think when you add these games and these other fun elements to the event, it just kind of keeps people excited, it keeps them engaged, and it helps keep the energy up throughout the event. And it kind of makes up for the things that you're missing that you might have had if you were able to meet in person.
Very true. And we know that budgets are very tight through COVID. Organizations are looking for ways to cut costs. We encourage you not to make that a blanket statement, that find some very inexpensive but effective games or prizes to give away to your audience to keep them engaged throughout the event. There is a lot more that goes into the event, not only the planning with the marketing and the content that we've spoken about already, but the technology. Technology had to pivot through this and work with companies like World Travel and companies like yours to provide resources and technology to help you pull off the event in a very seamless fashion. Phylicia, I'm going to ask you about the technology here. What technologies are available to us and to our customers for virtual and hybrid meetings?
Yeah, so thankfully everybody's had to pivot. So all of the technologies really caught up to what is necessary and needed in the the current environment. So our World Meetings and Events team have really taken the challenge and know all of the tools that are available from Cvent for all of the registrations and the websites. Your attendees may be used to that and it may be still in your budget and something that you still want to offer. So Cvent offers really great website pages that can help with registration. It can help if you do have a much larger webinar that has breakout sessions. You need some way to manage those. So utilizing something like Cvent can really help your attendees sign up for those breakout sessions and figure out what your full event has to offer. And then things like Crowd Compass, which our World Meetings and Events team develop frequently, is an event mobile app. And that mobile app can really give your attendees, a higher level of experience as well. They can follow through, they can, they can engage with one another through that, through like the social channels, things like that. They can post photos if they would like to. And then you can also give them access to all of the event collateral. So you can upload the PowerPoints, you can upload corresponding documents that your attendees can then pull off of that channel. And then another technology that we have is Group Eyes. So Group Eyes offers a more low-cost option to really elevating your virtual events. And like I said, our meetings and events team are experts in this area, so they can really help really elevate your meetings.
Phylicia, the insight you gave to technology is really, really important for our audience to understand. And as you mentioned, it's important to reach out to World Travel Meetings and Events to find out how they can help you along the way. I have one last question that I would like to ask both of you, or pose to both of you, and that is, what final tips could you give to our viewing audience on how to pull off their meetings moving forward?
Kristin, you want to go first?
Sure. I would say just try to find creative ways to keep it similar to your in-person events. And you want to remember to try to keep things a little more concise when it's in a virtual format.
My biggest tip is don't cancel. It's so easy to just say, oh, it's 2020, we'll look at our meetings program in 2021. Don't cancel it. Your message is important. Your attendees and your clients need to hear it. And look into 2021. We are already planning our spring symposium for 2021, and we've actually are not able to get our first chosen date. So things are booking up, and I definitely encourage you to look into 2021.
As we do with all of our Let's Go episodes, I really like to sum up our conversation today with the 3 main points for our audience. The first is marrying registration and attendance. They're not separate, so make sure that your efforts to have people register continue all the way through to having them attend the event that day. The second is technology. As Phylicia just shared with us, technology is a critical point of making your event successful. There are some very inexpensive and budget-friendly tools out there that World Travel can work with you on to make sure that your event has the technology it needs. And the final point is really simple, something I just mentioned. Don't cancel your events because of the pandemic. There are options out there, whether they are virtual or hybrid, there are options out there for you. Your customers expect you to communicate with them, and your employees expect that these meetings will continue. So please don't cancel your events. We look forward to seeing you in 2021. So for now, from us to you, let's go.